Hi guys, so this video is going to be on the constraints that are generated between these pieces, and we do it for two reasons. First, to generate a glue network, and second, to communicate so that glue network, when it breaks, we can toggle the insides off, on and off. And that, as you can see, on the insides, they all have different colors, and so that pretty much is how the constraint attribute communicates. So what we're going to do is we start at this geometry here. So it's the outside Verneuil faces. So the first thing we need is we need a centroid attribute of this piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to promote the name, and then we're going to assemble it. And so right now, this is a quick way to get the centroid for anything, whatever group that you want to do. And then we do a find attribute by name, and we get the point, and then we can get the centroid attribute. Now the next step is, what we want to do is we want to determine what's a similar, because there's two faces, there's 4 points right here. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see better. So there's 4 points here. And so what do these 4 points have in common? Well, they're going to share a centroid. Their own centroid. Different from this centroid, but this middle point is what they share. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve, and I'm going to go cut at all internal U breakpoints. And what that does is that separates, that gives me this. That breaks all these things into, and I'm in wireframe mode here. And so you can, they're open. They're all just a bunch of lines. So what I can do is I can make a point per line. And as you can see, I'm just going to template it. And so there you go. So we get a point, and there's 2 points here. So what we can do is we can fuse them, and then what we do here for all of these points, we find their fuse point, which is they're basically on top of each other, but we store that in an attribute because that's going to be a unique attribute for both sets of points here. And then what I do is I put the positions just so I can visualize this, so I blend between the middle and the end here, and then I connect them with the near point attribute because they share what the attribute of the point number they found from the fuse here. So that's how they connect. And I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this in another video. So then I just do a little bit of cleanup, and then I just set an attribute. I name a connection attribute ID called @primitive number. So all these primitive numbers, they're unique to this, and then I'm going to promote that connection ID to the point. So it's on there. They share the same connection ID, and that's our constraint network. Now to get it onto the polygons here, I make a connection attribute, and you can see I have detail and then prim attribute. So yeah, I primarily work in wrangles. It's just preference. You can make this a number of ways. And so I set the front and back to -1 of that connection ID attribute, but the important part is right here. Setting it on the inside faces, so anywhere where we have inside faces. So how do we get that? So when we're looping around these points, like here, we'll say here, 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 and here, we get the attribute IDC, which we created here, and that's at ptnum. So it's these two branches have a common attribute that they can communicate to one another. And then I find, and I'm looking at the point 0, so the first one I'm looking at, pretty much. That's what I'm doing. And so what I can do is these have, right here on this point per prim, basically I get the IDC attribute, but I put it on the first vertex of the primitive, or the first point vertex. So of like if this branch right here, it moves up to here, but I sample on the first. So this one gets that IDC, this guy gets this IDC. I think there's one in here. This guy gets that IDC, this guy gets that IDC in the corner, this one gets that guy, and so on, and it does that forever. So that's the logic behind it. So then you find your point by IDC, and so of course we're looking at the first input, and then we just get the connection ID that we promoted to the point. And so then that's set, and then we can go around, and anywhere where we create an inside poly, we can just set the connection ID attribute like that. And so now these two have an attribute. The constraint network has an attribute that ties it to the inside face. Alright, thank you for watching. This was about the right time for video, and again, I'm streaming on Twitch at twitchtv.a/melnichuk this weekend, and I'll be streaming this file next weekend as well. So if you're interested and you have questions, you can open up this file and we can take a walk through it and you can ask questions. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good day.